Hey everyone, welcome back to our weekly abuse of Legend of Dragoon. How's everyone doing tonight? Make sure everything's working. Looks like we are all good. Yes, thanks YouTube app. I know that I am streaming. How is everyone? Oh, we are going to start off with a quick behind the scenes on that Christmas video that we put out a few days ago. I guess it was a few more than a few days ago now, but so it might not have looked like a whole lot, but the Christmas video that we put out was actually a very, very big step forward in modding capabilities. I had Icarus working with me. He was doing the scripting for it, and I did some custom code work to make that possible. Um, so the reason this is a big step forward is because, well, A, as you may be able to see right now, if you look closely at the background, this is actually an upscaled background. Looks like we actually have Zychronics in the chat here. So Zychronics and TFC have been working on an upscale project for quite a while now. It was originally targeted for emulators, but the emulators just aren't fast enough to be able to use it effectively. You just get really bad loading times. So it's been retargeted for severed chains, and it's been a very, very hot topic for a long time now. So simply put, the mod is already made. Like this is it. It's going to be released, if not alongside recommended build 3, not long after. And not only does it let you upscale, well, use the upscale project, you can actually just copy in whatever textures you want. So if you wanted to make your own backgrounds too, you could just drop them into the folder here for the map, and it'll pick them up and load them automatically. So that was the first big thing. The second big thing is we really, really pushed the envelope on custom content. Um, so obviously, it's not normal to have these characters on this map. Actually, I've got an older version of the scripts here, so you can see everyone's kind of stacked on top of each other, and the text boxes aren't finished yet. But this is still a very good example of what we have done here. So I'm just going to move a couple of characters. So, obviously these characters are not all here, especially... Actually, that's not a character. We brought Lloyd in, we brought everyone. So up until this point, no one had ever been able to fully import characters from one map to another. So we were kind of breaking new ground here with that, and we learned a lot. And actually, as of yesterday, I've finalized some code that makes it really, really easy to do that. It is now just a matter of copying the files in, and you can move basically any character to any map. It's really easy. But yeah, this was all custom scripting and everything. Took us quite a bit of work over a few days just to make this one little Christmas video. But, of course, we are going to be able to use what we learned, what we developed here, to make fully custom maps. And that is what we are going to be working on this stream. Hopefully, by the end of the stream, I will have made a fully custom map, basically from the ground up. Lots of chat that I've not been paying attention to. What's up, Pony Bro? R&R with LRC. I don't recognize your name. Welcome to the stream. Dichronix Icarus, Mary Sarju, new here, but I'm so excited. Yeah, we're all pretty excited. We've got a lot of interesting stuff happening. Hey Becca, hey Kakashi. Kakashi, what did you miss? You haven't missed much because we started 6 minutes ago, just kind of showing off the basics of the custom content stuff that we started working on last week. And this stream, we are going to be working on a fully custom map. Now, I am in the process of updating some code here. So we're not going to get into the juicy stuff right away. I'm going to be doing some live development here. But hopefully we can make pretty short work of this. So basically what I've been doing is so not only is the retail maps, they are kind of like mostly file based. So there's the textures, models, animations, and everything that are on the disks. But unfortunately, they also hard coded a lot of things into the game engine itself. They probably did that just due to a lack of time. It is what it is, but we need to undo that so we can go fully custom. I have already done a pretty large chunk of that between yesterday and today. Was kind of hoping to get it done before I started streaming, but yeah, not so much luck. We didn't end up getting home until like 6 o'clock this morning, so I slept until like noon. Didn't get a whole lot of stuff done. Keep this video on while I do some stuff in the meantime. Sounds good. Wonder what would have to go into making Shanna able to have additions and stronger attacks. Uh, so we do actually plan on doing that. All things said and done, it's not like a huge thing. Also, fun fact, there are even recorded voice lines, not for Shanna, but for Miranda. Um, so, at one point, at least, they did absolutely plan on having additions. Those lines were only ever recorded in Japanese. Obviously they wouldn't bother to re-record them in English or any other language. But yeah, so we've got like a rough translation of what Miranda and most likely Shanna's additions would have been in text at least. Hey, Lethian, how's it going? Yeah, the upscale stuff is pretty exciting. Zycronix has been working on that like full steam. Okay, so we got to move some more code here. 7728. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. It's definitely something that we want to explore. Um, we have done well. I think it was Psychronics actually that did some experimenting, actually adding custom editions. I don't think he. Well, I think he actually got something working at one point. Just like reusing the existing animations. Psychronics, if you're still here, can you confirm that? I want to say I remember that. Yeah, we do have a lot of very passionate voice actors in the community. Um, and it really wouldn't be too difficult to have somebody record some voice lines for it. I think Shanna Miranda would have a good split of damage slash SP based editions, or would they have more SP editions since they're the best magic users? That's a good question. I don't really picture Shanna and Miranda being like damage dealers. Um, just because they are already so overpowered with the magic. If they could do physical damage as well, then that would just be like they're already pretty over the top, but being able to do like heavy physical damage as well would just be like insane. You would never take them out of the party. Yeah, I made Blazing Moon Dynamo Strike hybrid using Moonstrike, so I added an extra hit and it worked. Right, right, yeah. So you actually had not like fully custom animations, but like stringing together other existing animations in new ways working at one point. So we've already kind of proven that that's possible. I just found this project recently, first time catching a live stream. This game was my intro into the JRPG genre. It's a game I like to revisit every year. It's awesome and I find like-minded fans. It's awesome to find like-minded fans. Yeah, this was actually, I think, my first introduction to the JRPG genre as well. Um, well, actually, that probably was Super Mario RPG. Um, I remember getting that from my cousin when we were quite young. But LOD was not far behind by any means. Yeah, hey Alepri. Alepri is the another developer on Severed Chains. He's working on the audio engine and making it possible for custom voice lines to be added in. So that's going to be coming in the not so distant future, possibly with, well, hopefully RB3, the next release that we're doing. Add it out of the bag for that one. Might as well post it. Oh yeah, yeah, Zycronix, if you still have that recording of the custom editions you did, then yeah, if you want to post that, then I will show it on stream here. Be cool if two characters could have a combo edition. That would be pretty cool, and also very difficult. Not out of the realm of possibility, but certainly more difficult than just adding a custom edition. Wish I knew anything about game development. I mean, knowing game dev is one thing. We've got a pretty good sized group of talented developers working on SC right now. Um, we also always do need people testing and things like that. There really is a fit for, just about any skill set here. We've had testers and things anywhere from like, advanced developers to people who don't even have like a desktop computer and just, play on Steam Deck or whatever. Yeah, LRC, I mean, if you're interested in testing, We have a link to our Discord server in the description of the video here. You can either ping me, Monoxide, or Drew Universe if you would like to get in on the early private tests that we're doing of the OpenGL builds. Um, and we will also have public builds starting very, very likely in January. Next playthrough will definitely be using Severed Chains engine. Maybe I'll hold out for the upscaler in recommended build 3. Yeah, yeah. We are hoping to get RB3 out in the first quarter of next year. It's looking pretty good. We've made a ton of progress. Most of what's left over is battle stuff, which, unfortunately is the bulk of the game engine is all um, battle rendering code. Um, like 80-90% of the game is all just like special effects code for battle. But yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're feeling pretty good about that Q1 release. Yeah, we do request that anybody who's doing early testing be in the Discord server. We have a private channel set up. And yeah, we request that for the time being, you don't share any images or videos or anything like that. Um, but yeah, we would like to have everybody who's doing the early testing in the Discord server so we can have direct communication. Makes testing a lot easier, and I can ping people when I have specific things that need to be tested. Yeah, unfortunately, Gerald, Legend of Dragoon doesn't exactly stretch much of anything. Um, like I run off of a laptop, and it is a pretty good laptop. But I don't have it like I'm running integrated graphics on 12th gen Intel, um, which isn't a bad processor by any means. But it's obviously not discrete hardware, and I can easily hit like thousands of frames per second. Now, once we get into upscale territory and stuff like that, um, it does take a little bit more processing power, but yeah, I can still run even with the very large upscaled textures. Um, like no issue. What size are these? Yeah, 1024 by 480 times 6. So that's a lot of pixels to draw, but it's still not an issue. Yeah, that's true too. We haven't even like done any engine optimizing. So once we have finished all that, there's basically nothing that it won't run on. All right. Let's see if I can get this all running relatively quickly. Yes. For anyone who is very new here, we've also been actually upping everything to 60 frames per second as well, which makes a very big difference. So we've already done the world map and submaps. We are going to be doing battle as well, but that is a much, much bigger task. So that's not going to make it into the next release. However, it will be coming in a future release, sometime most likely next year. That being said, even without 60 frames per second, just with the OpenGL update, um, it makes such a big difference, like you wouldn't even believe it. Actually, no. In Severed Chains, the input is actually already handled at 60 frames per second. Um, I do believe that it will affect additions somewhat. Um, I have a pretty strong suspicion that it will make them easier, um, simply because you'll be able to see the guides much more clearly. One very interesting thing that I've noticed. Well, let me fire this up here real quick. Actually, I'm going to switch branches here because this is still the Christmas build. So we're gonna have to unpack here, so this will take a moment. One thing I noticed after the OpenGL update, uh, I'm notoriously terrible at doing additions. I always have been. It is a running joke on the dev stream. Um, Once we did the OpenGL update and the edition guide, like like high resolution and everything, I can actually do like master editions and stuff, even for characters I literally do not use, like with very little problems. Will this also make multi-spells able to be pushed higher? Um, that's a tricky question. The reason being is that the multi-spells are currently handled by the script engine, and there is a hard limit on us being able to run the script engine at a higher frame rate. Um, it's basically just like a flat, like not possible because all of the scripts are written to run at exactly the frame rate that they were intended to be written at. Like when they want to, for example, like wait for something to happen, they say wait for this many frames. And there's no way that we can identify that they are doing that in a script and automatically adjust that. So basically what we do is we run the script engine um, one frame and then we will skip 1 or 2 frames or whatever, depending on what speed it's supposed to be running at. And for that reason, um, the item mashing will still be basically like the exact same as retail. Now, that being said, I really would like to pull that out of the script because it's just not great being in there. Um, they literally have a copy of that code in like every single item script. And in pulling it out, we would be able to do all kinds of stuff like add difficulty settings to make it easier for people with accessibility issues, wrist issues, or, just people who don't want to have to button mash, for example. We could also extend it so, you could, like what you said, you could go higher if you can mash really fast and do even more damage. The physical limit in retail LOD is something like 268% or something like that. It's around there somewhere at least. Hitting Dragoon editions has always been a personal pain point for me. Anything that makes that easier is okay in my books. I wish the Dragoon editions were like the normal ones. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why they did a spinner. Maybe just to make them different. Um, yeah, who knows? It's really hard to say. Um, Also, for anyone who's new here, you can see we have native 1080p widescreen. The game will render at whatever resolution you have the window set to. So even if you have like a ultra wide monitor or something like that, and you'll see once I do this edition that it is much, much clearer than, the basic, like basically muddy water that you'd see in retail. I'm talking, so I'm failing to do additions, but you get the point. I don't know if you can hear my cat yelling in the background. Hmm. My wife just got home, so he is yelling at her. Say hi, Liv. Uh-huh. Okay, so let's get back to this again. Keep getting sidetracked. You get a perfect Dragoon edition about once every playthrough. Yeah, I used to be really, really bad at them. I've gotten a bit better now that I've realized that um it seems like you have to press that last press like way sooner than you think. It also really, really helps that Severed Chains has basically zero input latency. There's not a lot of input latency in retail LOD on PS1 hardware. Um, it's anywhere between 0 and 2 frames, depending on exactly when you press the button. Uh, but that being said, it is more than 0. Um, SC is basically like 0 frames of latency. So, you know, you press it when your eyes tell you to press it and it works. Request. A special item that learns enemy skills much like in Final Fantasy VII. That's an interesting idea. Um, We will need to do some fairly significant reworks to how LOD spells work in order to be able to do anything like that, which is something that we will be doing anyway, to enable modders to add their own spells and items. Um, the way they implemented it is pretty funny. Um, they're actually hard coded to who they are supposed to attack. So, like, if you use, for example, an attack all attack, um, like an enemy spell that is supposed to attack, like, all the players. If you as a player use that, even if you target the enemies, you'll still damage yourself just because they have it all hard coded. Even though there's flags like in the spell tables and stuff that like say who they're supposed to target and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's only really used for the user interface. For some reason, they just hard coded the targeting code. Did it finally downloaded Discord? Only took 23-year-old game for me to do it. 24 years old, actually. Release the PvP mods. Yeah, we also for anyone who doesn't know, we are going to be making a PvP mod for Severed Chains, so that's going to be a thing. I'm just trying to decide how I want to do this. Give this a name, reset, scripted object, bound. Since we're coming from a compiled game, doing this all through reverse engineering, um, we don't have names for any of the functions or variables or anything like that. So, whenever we are able to figure out what something does and assign a name to it, we always try and do that. Yep, 1999. Work probably started around 96 or so. Pokemon battles with LOD characters. I'll leave that one up to modders. I mean, with the way that it's scripted, it's probably possible to be honest with you. Okay, here we are deleting things. So in the unload method, we will run this. Dot map dot run environment. Okay, so we're kinda in not the greatest way for now. I'll come back clean this all up once we have it working though. Zero C. Okay, that come from the submap. Actually, no, it doesn't. We can just use at, since that's where it gets its value from in the first place. Things probably would be different if the Legend of Dragoon was on PS2. Yeah, that's I mean there's some speculation that it may have been intended to be a PS2 game at some point. Um, it is a bit odd that they targeted the PS1 since it was so very, very late in the life cycle of the PS1. Um, it probably would have done a lot better if it was a PS2 game because, for example, like obviously as you've seen in these dev streams, um, aside from that one upscaled background that I showed in the Christmas video, explainer that we did earlier, um, all of this is just, plain retail game assets. We aren't doing any kind of like magic here. We're just like rendering them like we're just displaying the assets in higher quality, um, just at a higher resolution. Like we have not made any changes to the models, the textures, anything like that. Um, they just are, pretty good quality. And the PS1 was absolutely unable to actually display that quality. Also, it's worth noting that some of the file formats that they use in the game we've actually found are like um, sort of experimental PS2 file formats. Um, they're kind of like halfway in between the PS1 formats and what ended up being used in the PS2, the audio files especially. So um, it seems that uh, LOD, having been developed by one of the internal Sony teams, SCEA, no, I don't remember what the abbreviation is for the Japan studio, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Um, it seems that LOD was being used as sort of like a test bed for some new file formats. Um, there were one or two other games near the end of the PS1 life cycle as well that used these same formats. I want to say one was Ape Escape, but I don't remember the names of any others off the top of my head. Nuzlocke LOD using only fire element monster and characters. I have heard the term Nuzlocke, but I don't really know what it is, to be honest with you. I think it is to do with the Pokemon games, like Pokemon challenges. Guessing it couldn't be PS2 because PS2 wasn't ready for games to start development in '96. Yeah, good question. I don't know exactly when the PS2 actually was viable for development. Could have gotten those FMVs in much higher quality, and they were 16 by 9 already, so they'd be future-proof. Yeah, the FMVs are a real shame. Um, that is one thing that they really, really did destroy to be able to fit them on the discs. The FMVs take up like a significant portion of the space on the discs. Like, let's take a look here at the size. Yeah, so the FMVs are like one full CD on their own, 700 megs, a little bit more than a CD if you're not using high density. Um, like this is the most significant space usage by quite a wide margin. And then the XA audio, which is things like the Dragoon spells. They're all high quality audio as well. Um, and they use a fairly significant amount of space too, about 100 megs. But yeah, the FMVs they really had to like compress the absolute life out of them to be able to get them to fit. They are the encoding that they use. It's decoded using the MDEC chip on the PS1, which is which means that they are basically just a series of very poorly compressed JPEGs. Well, when I say poorly compressed, I mean very highly compressed because JPEGs lose a lot of quality as they become more compressed. So, yeah. It's him. Usually it's about 6 months before the system launches, so September of 1999 would be when external companies would get a dev kit. I mean, that seems like a pretty short development period for being able to develop an entire game. I would assume that console makers would want to provide a at least a little bit more time for external companies to get some launch titles out. Otherwise, you end up launching with only first party titles and probably a pretty lean cast of games. Yeah, the AI upscaled FMVs are not terrible, but it certainly would be preferable to just be able to ask Sony very nicely for the originals. I gotta be honest, when we found out that the games were getting emulated releases on the PS4 and 5, I was kind of hoping that we were going to get some like original quality FMVs in there, but no such luck. If you ever get that connection, yeah, that would be quite the connection. What are the odds that the originals still exist? That is, of course, the question. And yeah, I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. I would love to have an answer for that. I would say that somewhere on some rotting away on some decrepit hard drive in someone's closet, there are copies of the original FMVs and maybe even some of the source material. Element would be possible without a dev kit, but you can't really test anything without a dev kit. And to be fair, the best launch with some very early PS2 games. The VA would likely be replaced if there was a remake. That would definitely be necessary. As great as the FMVs are, um, both the quality of the voiceovers and the mixing is very poor. Um, from what we understand, they had very limited time in the studio, and it was basically all just done in like a single session with not much direction. And yeah, it definitely shows. And yeah, the like music levels versus like the voice levels in some of the cutscenes, like the music is super loud and it makes it really difficult to actually understand what they're saying. Yeah, Drew has found some pretty interesting content, such as the original box art, but without the Sony logo and PS1 border and stuff. So, for the first time, um, it took 23, 24 years um, for that actually to be found and seen by the public. That was sitting on a random press release disc, actually. I think Sony considers LOD a failed project. Yes. Um, I was pretty surprised to see that it got the emulator release on the PS4 and 5. Um, I have a feeling it was mostly just to kind of like pad out their portfolio of reverse engineer or backwards compatible games. Um, Even though there is obviously like quite a large community of people, um, it certainly never got the mass appeal of games like Final Fantasy. I vehemently disagree, of course, yes. As do I, as you may be able to tell by what we're doing here. Yes, Sony has the rights to the game. It was a first-party studio at Sony that developed it. A lot of people think it was Square Enix, but it wasn't. Or they might were they just Square back then? I don't remember. Squaresoft. Although kind of funny story in regards to Squaresoft. Um, it was Squaresoft that developed Super Mario RPG, right? Yeah. So from what Drew has found out, Rose was apparently originally going to be a character in Super Mario RPG. So that is some trivia. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it does hold up pretty well to the Final Fantasy games, but as with any game poised as a Final Fantasy killer, Final Fantasy was already at that point a very well established series. Um, so, right out of the gate, it already has a fan base as soon as they release a new game. Um, the game actually, like LOD actually did do pretty well in North America. Um, Not in Japan whatsoever, but yeah, it got a much bigger foothold over here. Yeah, yeah, the PS1 was sort of like well that was the era when Sony and Nintendo were actually going to be working together, and from what I understand, it was actually Nintendo that kind of screwed Sony over and ended up putting out the console on their own. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Pony Bro. It's kind of like the same thing with all of the quote unquote Halo killers from that era as well. Um, and it all basically comes off as, riding on the coattails of, the big thing at the time. Kind of like how recently every game became a battle royale or an extraction shooter. Yeah, it would have been interesting, because yeah, like I said, the original idea for LOD was actually had on the Super Nintendo. Rose was going to be a character in Mario RPG. Um, and the person who designed the timed hit system for Mario RPG actually went on to be a key developer in Legend of Dragoon. Um, I'm sure anyone who's played both games can see the similarities in the battle systems there. One game you have timed hits, the other game you have additions. Very, very similar. So Rose originally started off as a Super Mario RPG character idea concept. Um, she was then going to be the main character in Legend of Dragoon. For whatever reason, they decided to use Dart instead. I gotta catch up on chat. There's a lot of messages. Did you know that someone got to see one of the prototype Nintendo PlayStations? No, I didn't. Was that something recent? Are they still floating around? That's too high of a bar, yeah. Way too high of a bar. Whenever you call a game a killer of you know, very, very well established franchise, those are big words. Those are really, really big words. Late 90s, early 2000s, best era for JRPGs. Yeah, I agree. I've never been a big JRPG person. LOD, Super Mario RPG, and Golden Sun are the only ones that I've really gotten into. In my opinion, three of the best RPGs ever, JRPG or otherwise, full stop. And of course, those were all from that era. The only RPG that I've ever gotten into that I've liked as much as those three is Dragon Age. First person RPG open world map with additions, I think would be a really popular new game for today's new generation gamers. Yeah, it makes me pretty sad that if LOD was ever to get a first party remake or even a third party remake, like official remake, it would probably be like a real-time combat system. I just do not like real-time combat. I prefer turn-based. I get that people nowadays are looking for more like action RPG than turn-based, but for me personally, um, like Dragon Age is the only like real-time combat game that I've ever really been able to get into. Um, I'm just really, really bad at real-time combat, which is funny because I mostly play Halo, which is obviously very fast-paced shooter, but yeah, I don't know. I just like the slower pace of turn-based combat in RPGs. I think that my first and second JRPGs are the ones that stuck the closest to me. I can't close out a year without LOD and TOS revisit. Um, Not sure what TOS is. Any of you ever played Grandia? I love Grandia too, but we never got Extreme or 3 over here. I have not. Like I said before, I haven't really played a whole lot of kind of RPGs in general. I'm not a huge gamer. I spend a lot of my free time, like most of my free time working on games rather than actually playing them. You know, the life of a game developer. You don't really get to play games, you just kind of make them. Oh, Tales of Symphonia, yeah. Just remember, arguing with strangers online is literally turn-based combat. Truth. Real-time combat games are difficult in the sense of needing to watch several areas all at once. Age of Empires trained me to deal with that style of game. Oh, I'm a big fan of Age of Empires. I still play AoE 2 to this day. Um, I'm not like a pro at it, but I'm half decent. Like I can usually hold my own kind of decently well. I do like real-time strategy games quite a bit. Which again is kind of paradoxic because I hate real-time RPGs. It is what it is. Um, Another pretty fun real-time strategy game that I played, not recently, but one of the more recent uh, real-time strategy games that I played was Frostpunk, which is incredibly stressful, especially when you're playing through the story mode. I don't know if anyone else here has ever played that, but yeah, it's a very, very stressful game. Halo Wars is also a really, really good RTS. Um, They're a bit simplified compared to something like Age of Empires, but it was built from the ground up by I want to say Creative Assembly, um, to run on like really well with like an Xbox controller, rather than having a full keyboard full of hotkeys. And it plays really, really well. LOD did get a combat update. I would be more interested to see it in some type of tactics mode where it is still turn-based, but has battlefield movement and positioning and could still have addition. Yeah, I would be less opposed to that. Um, I haven't played a lot of tactics games. I played a little bit of XCOM 3 and probably at least 10, 15 years ago I played Final Fantasy Tactics, which was a fair bit of fun. Don't think I ever finished it, but yeah, that was pretty fun. I like tactics games as well. I do want to play another real-time strategy game, but nothing recently quite scratches that itch. AoE 2 was the last one I really enjoyed. Yeah, AoE 2 was just like I don't know what it is about it, but they like just absolutely knocked it out of the park there. AoE 4, I will say, they did a very good job with. To me, it feels a lot like they uh, took all of the ideas that they had for AoE 2, but couldn't implement because of technical limitations, and kind of made that game. That being said, I haven't really taken the time to play a lot of it. Mostly just because I'm like so used to the AoE 2 hotkeys that switching to AoE 4 is kind of like a little painful. Only Tales game I've played is Vesperia, and Command and Conquer Red Alert 3 was probably the most meme-worthy real-time strategy game, and I love it. I'm not really familiar with Command and Conquer, so I can't really, I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Ever play Company of Heroes real-time strategy game? No, I have not. Um, but I have heard of it. Time for supper. Maybe I can check back before your stream's over. Yeah, we'll be here for probably another hour or so. We usually do about 2 hour streams. But yeah, thank you for tuning in to check it out. By the way, for anyone who is new here, if you do like this content, we would really appreciate like a like on the video, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We do these I do these dev streams usually every Wednesday. Um, had something come up yesterday and the week before, which is the reason that we're doing it today instead. But yeah, we usually do it every Wednesday, starting 1 hour previous to now, 7 o'clock my time, which is Atlantic time zone. And we have been kind of working on uh, increasing the amount of videos that we put out, showing all kinds of fun new features that we're working on too. So uh, if you don't want to miss out on those, then yeah, definitely follow the channel. I don't remember what the population cap is in AoE 4, but I know they did drastically increase the population cap in the AoE 2 re-release, which is terrible if you're playing against a lot of bots. Oh hey, Erwan, Erwan. I never really know how to pronounce your name, so you're just gonna get whatever comes out of my mouth. I have been so very sidetracked here. Um, what were we doing? We were right. We are working on custom submaps for anyone who tuned in during our very long tangential discussion on everything that is unrelated to LOD. Speaking of things unrelated to LOD, um, I borrowed my dad's Nintendo Switch, so I've been playing some Nintendo games for the very first time since the GameCube. I've been playing Metroid Prime, the remake that came out recently. I Super Metroid is one of my favorite games of all time, but I had never played anything newer than that. And I've been liking Prime quite a bit. Played so much AoE and AoE 2 as a kid, and as a 20 something. Yes. I played a lot of AoE, the original as well. Although I don't really remember much of it at this point. It's been a really long time since I've actually played the first game, but yeah, I still play AoE 2 to this day. Look back fondly at old school games. Not that I don't enjoy modern gaming, but as someone with an addictive personality, I wouldn't call my current relationship with gaming healthy. Yeah, I agree with that. A lot of newer games are, yeah, very predatory. Um, and I think even for people without addictive personalities, like a lot of like modern game design philosophies are intentionally predatory and not healthy for anyone. Um, yeah, I certainly miss the days of before loot boxes and monetization and microtransactions and everything. And that is a big reason that I just don't really play a lot of new games. I just kind of play the same shit I've been playing for the past 20, 25 years, you know? Like I said, I'm still playing Age of Empires 2 and Super Metroid and I mean, obviously Legend of Dragoon. Like the only new games that I really play a whole lot of are Halo and Factorio. But yeah, so I've been playing Metroid Prime. I just got the gravity suit earlier today, so I think I'm getting pretty close to the end of the game if it progresses anything like Super Metroid. I also have Breath of the Wild, Mario Maker 2, um, the triple pack of retro 3D Mario games that has Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and I don't remember what the third one is. But yeah, I'm gonna play that for sure. Um, what else did I get? Oh, Metroid Dread, which I have actually played a little bit of at my brother's house, um, which was super cool. You know, really takes you back to Super Metroid. I gotta be honest though, I don't really care how good the 3D graphics get. They still do not beat the ultra detailed hand-drawn 2D pixel art from the original Metroid games. Here's some community-driven loot boxes and severed chains. Thank you for the donation, Krigalo. We have joked about microtransactions and severed chains quite a bit. Um, maybe keep an eye out during when we get a little closer to the start of April. Um, Metroid Dread is a great return to the 2D Metroid games. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I played a couple hours of it, and yeah, it was very fun. It handles really well, which is something that that was really good about Super Metroid. Um, the way that the game handled was just fantastic. Speaking of GameCube, I was surprised to learn the Resident Evil 4 on the PS2 was apparently a port of the GameCube version. That's pretty interesting. I haven't played a whole lot of Resident Evil, or really like any at all, I guess. But I did recently watch a playthrough of Resident Evil Village, and I actually liked that a lot. I think it was a really really unique take on the horror genre. Um, very like whimsical fairy tale, sort of like you know, old school fairy tale like Brothers Grimm and stuff. Um, I have watched some playthroughs of some of the other more recent Resident Evil games, like the ones that came before Biohazard. Definitely not nearly as big of a fan of those. But yeah, Village was really really cool. They released a Stars version of AoE called Galactic Battlegrounds. Yeah, I actually had that as a kid too. I was never sure if that was a like official game or like some fan mod or something up until like a couple of years ago when I like remembered that that game existed and actually looked it up to see if it was like like a fever dream or something. Games launching buggy as heck. Yeah, that is another big issue with modern games. Like back when you shipped a physical copy of your game, if your game didn't work, then your game didn't work. Nobody was gonna play it. Love Factorio, such a cool game. Yeah, tell that to my like 3,500 hours on it. I'm currently playing a heavily modded playthrough with Pyanodon's suite of mods, which is like a 300-hour playthrough. So I think I've got probably 50 to 60 hours on that world so far, and I've got the first science pack automated. On the support link and had to chip in a little bit. It's not much, but y'all are doing the Lord's work here. Yeah, Gerald, I mean, it's super, super appreciated. Doesn't matter how much it is. Like, any amount whatsoever helps. You can pay to speed up Kongle, just 250 gems. Yeah, obviously we need like three different layers of in-game currencies. Um, so that converting from real money into the actual like in-game money that you spend is impossible, so you never know how much you're actually spending. That's the trick. Sever your chains with this power boost. Oh yeah, 1 hour double damage, 1 hour EXP boost. But the thing is, Drew, with that, we're gonna have to bring back the loading screens because we don't want to make this deal too good. It's only cosmetics. The monetization is fine. You want to talk a fever dream of a game? Know that this was a long time ago, but there was a game set in World War I that was in black and white like the old silent films, and you were a German soldier running away from robot dinosaurs. I have no idea what that game would be, but it really sounds like a fever dream. I'll give you that. Mm. Oh, you want to hear a fever dream? One time a few months ago, I had a dream that I was back in my hometown, and it was under attack. We were getting shelled. I was in like this burned out building, and we were getting shelled, but the shells were bullet bills from Super Mario World. Oh yeah, gotta have auto button mash. Yeah, we'll implement that as a microtransaction rather than an accessibility option. It's perfect. You're a winner, aren't you? Drew, I think we might have to rebrand the dev stream to a just chatting stream because this is just how it is now. Do they still make turbo controllers? I remember having one of those for maybe GameCube. They must still make them. Probably all modders making third-party turbo. Yeah, I mean, I have seen some pretty interesting controller mods. Is Severed Chains playable? Yes. Severed Chains is very playable. Um, Severed Chains recommended build 2.1 is fully retail complete. You can play through 100% of the game, no issues. Well, no crash or anything. There are some minor visual and audio issues, but nothing big really. Um, Recommended build 3 will also be coming out sometime in the first quarter of 2024. And yeah, that will very likely resolve all of the remaining graphical and audio issues because we are putting in a new audio engine as well. All our consoles had those cheap Mad Catz controllers. Yeah, I remember the Mad Catz controllers vividly. They were not the same quality. You never wanted to get stuck with the Mad Catz. Double smack your foes with a doubled up perky step, only 99 cents per hour. What a steal. You almost can't afford not to. Yes, game saves are 100% backwards compat or sorry, 100% forwards compatible. We support saves from every version of Severed Chains, and even saves from retail. So if you have an emulator save or a way of pulling saves off of a PS1 mem card, you can use those as well. Actually, I do not need that. For anyone who tuned in during or after our hour and a half long tangent about retro video games. Tonight on the dev stream, we are working on adding entirely new maps to the game. This is something that up until this point has absolutely never been possible, but we are making it so. Are there existing maps that were not included in retail? Yes, there are a few actually. Um, for anyone who's ever played the demo of Legend of Dragoon, um, you could get it on various demo discs, some kiosks in different retailers and stuff like that back in the day. The game ends with a cutscene in Bale, where the party kind of talks about what they are going to do next. That, for example, is actually included inside of the retail release. We can trigger that in Severed Chains easily. Let me pop this up. I can actually show a couple of them real quick. There's also the debug room. Well, various debug rooms. Um, there is an unused version of Celeste. Let's just pop these up while we're here. So we've got all kinds of dev tools built into Severed Chains. So for example, we can just warp to map number 8. So you can actually see here, this is the beta model for Dart as well. Very, very different than what we see. Actually forgot about this. Look at those gigantic eyes. Hey Doom, how you doing? Drew, the problem with this, with embiggening, is that if Dart goes into the idle pose, it will crash. So I can't leave him standing there for long enough for that to happen. But yes, so that is one of the maps. Let's quickly warp to the debug room so that it doesn't crash. So this is the debug room, one of 4, I think. So this lets you warp around the game. This is actually used in some speed runs. If you do some glitches, you can actually force your way in here, doing some save corruption. One of these maps, you actually get to walk around in Dragoon form. Oh, look, here we can walk around as Shanna, Rose, and what you never get to do, you can actually walk around as Dragoon Dart. And we have in the past, on one of the past dev streams, I actually extracted this model and imported it into a different map. You can see when you're running, you actually even, like, fly. So they put a little bit of work into this. Those eyes have seen some stuff. Yes. Yes, they have. Maybe we'll make a mod where you can walk around the whole game as Dragoon. Yeah, Basil demo. Let's pop into there. Yeah, so this is it. This is what I was talking about with the demo cutscene. So this happens, I believe, after you make your way through the prairie, if you're playing the demo version of the game. A lot of people have probably never seen this. I certainly hadn't. I had never played the demo before. I'll turn off auto advanced text. Oh, also, FYI for the person who was asking if this is playable, Chris. Um, so what you're seeing here, this is very, very early build of recommended build 3. So we're doing a full OpenGL upgrade. That's why there's some pretty big graphical issues that you're seeing here. Recommended build 2 doesn't have these issues, but of course the rendering doesn't look nearly as good. Know why Zychronix has a number sign before this, so I'm going to check it out. Um, okay, nothing exciting here. Might have just been a typo. 106 is the not behind Celeste, it's the marshland. Not sure what this means, but let's check it out. Okay, nothing interesting. Must be in Nest of Dragon. Why must it? I don't know. Kansas glitched. Sounds interesting. Doesn't seem to be glitched in severed chains. Maybe it's just a retail issue that we've accidentally fixed. Oh, Icarus says that if you go outside of the marshlands, it teleports you to Celeste. That makes sense. Oh no, glitched. Come on, give me something interesting. Oh, this is weird. That looks very strange without the overlays. I know there are some pretty funny ones in here, some weird bugs. Everyone just hanging around the whirlpool. Oh, this one is pretty good. We can just kind of scoot around on the water, no boat necessary. We can't go to the other map. That's unfortunate. Ah, come on. Yeah, so anyway, aside from the debug rooms and the demo scene, there's not really a whole lot of like cut content that was included. Well, I guess none of it is really cut content. It's just like, debug features and like a demo map. Any other characters we can walk around as? No, we're still Dart there. Oh, didn't like that one. Yeah. Well, we are working on making it possible for modders to add their very own content. Um, so over the past couple of days, I've reworked how assets are loaded. So you can now copy characters from map to map very, very easily. That was super difficult before. We talked about why that is at the start of the stream. Long story short, it's just the way that they were packaged together before. But yeah, so we've made it a lot easier to move characters from map to map or even add your very own characters. And this stream, in between the excessive amount of rambling that I've been doing, I've been working on making it so you can add fully new maps. Don't know if we'll actually finish this by the time stream is done. We'll probably end in about 25, 30 minutes. But gonna continue working on this here. All right. What we want here. Let me make a vertical slice of the dragon campaign first. Imagine the Cadessa battle, but playable. Mountain of work, but I know as a team of fans, we'll do it eventually. I know a team of fans will do it eventually. Yeah, that would be a pretty intense first project, Drew. We'll probably start a little smaller than that, but we can still do some very, very cool things. All right, so we need to process this stuff after it has been. Yeah, I've got a few little ideas here and there. Now, to be clear with the base severed chains, we aren't going to be adding any more content ourselves. Um, the focus of severed chains is to have a very, very close to retail experience, but with improvements such as like higher quality audio, video, better control support, difficulty selection and stuff like that, as well as a very, very powerful modding API that modders can then use uh, to make whatever features they want. So, like for example, the upscale project that Zycronix is working on, it's not actually part of Severed Chains, but it uses the modding API to make the changes that it needs to do to swap in the upscaled backgrounds. Played the demo like 30 times. Yep, that is dedication. We're pretty close to having this running. So we no longer need this. Nor do we need this. I think we actually want to move this stuff later in the loading process. Going to get rid of this as well. Where is that stuff actually getting loaded from? The map dot load assets. So these must be two different methods here. Yeah, okay, so how do we make these work together? I think actually rather than joining these together, we want to split them. We're also actually speeding up the loading time here a lot because this can all be done multi-threaded. And we actually recently just multi-threaded the unpacker too. So the initial setup of Severed Chains, where it has to unpack all of the disks, in some cases, we've seen like basically like it taking like half of the time to unpack all of the files, which is a pretty significant difference. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up here. We don't need to use this. Um, so we load the background, use this directly, prepare the environment, call on loaded. And then here we simply this dot submap dot load environment. And when that is complete, then we do that. We just need to add a wait for environment. I'm sure you've answered this 1,000 times already, but why Java over C? Um, it's just a lot faster to write. C wouldn't really buy us anything aside from uh, taking a significantly longer time for us to develop. Um, and it's also really, really easy for people who aren't very experienced with programming to write mods for it. It's much easier for a novice to write Java than it is to write C that isn't going to crash the game, right? It's also really, really easy to make a cross-platform. So like we're able to run on Windows, Mac, um, Linux, Steam Deck, um, as well as x86 architecture and ARM 64. Well, x86 64, I should say. Almost got this here. EB08. Actually, let's just pass that in. Oh, I already deleted it. That's why it's not there. That'd do it. Haven't used Plan C before. I kind of thought it might reverse the assembly a little more clearly since the game was likely written in C, but it never reversed assembly, so that's unfounded. Um, so long story short, I actually wrote a custom disassembler that basically translates the code. It does the initial translation step automatically into basically a pseudo emulator that I wrote that emulates the hardware of the PS1, but not the actual CPU. So even though the game is actually running on like natively on the computer, it's still able to talk to the computer as if it was talking to a PS1. Um, Now, of course, at this point we've removed all of that emulation code. Um, but yeah, in doing that, we were able to get it all running very quickly, comparatively. I assume it doesn't mean all that much considering LOD is likely easy on modern processors, but I hope you'll indulge my curiosity. How much effect, if any, does multi-threading have on modern processors? By which I mean in its prioritization of performance versus efficiency cores. So it depends on how the threading is used. So in severed chains, we do use multi-threading for several things. If you're familiar with the project, you'll know that the first time you run it, it takes all four disks and it does a whole bunch of processing in order to extract and merge all of the files on the disk, like all 400,000 plus game files. So, we're processing a very significant amount of data there. Um, we are unarchiving, decompressing, converting file formats. We're even like fixing a bunch of retail bugs in these files as we're doing the unpacking. And then, of course, um, writing all of those files to disk. So that all of that processing, well, much of that processing can be done in parallel. So, for example, let me see what Drew's numbers were from earlier today. Drew did a test this morning. So on Drew's solid state drive, the previous build took 65 seconds to unpack, and the new build took 28 seconds. So that's less than half of the time. Similarly, they tried it on their mechanical drive. The original build took 168 seconds, and the new build took 89. So again, very, very significant increase in speed there. You know, one was less than half the time on the SSD, and on the mechanical drive, it was almost half the time as well. We also do multi-threaded file loading while the game is running. So we're able to basically load everything instantly. There's no loading screens in Severed Chains at all, except for ones that we have like specifically added because loading too quickly is jarring. Um, for example, the battle transition. Like when you go into battle, you know how the screen dissolves. In Severed Chains, for the longest time, that just didn't happen because it loaded too fast. You would just suddenly be in a battle with like no fanfare whatsoever. Um, so we actually added like an artificial 3 second delay or something there just so that the screen could dissolve and you'd get a bit of a transition. It's still faster than retail by a significant margin, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, Forrest, you're not wrong. Um, we have done some pretty significant development here. Um, We are among some of the other big projects like Ship of Harkinian, like really on the forefront of like reverse engineering retro games. Sort of just reverse engineering in general. Yeah, multi-threading in the unpacker also means we can do a bit more expensive stuff that would have otherwise significantly increased the unpack time. I was doing some I added like stats to the unpacker, and honestly I'm like amazed at how quickly it's able to unpack. So like again, for context, we're talking over 400,000 files. And the unpacker in parallel is able to process those 400,000 files, which includes unarchiving, decompressing, patching, translating, converting, etc., in under a second for 400,000 files. And no, I don't know how it does that, even though I wrote it. Oh, no, they're not weird questions. I mean, that's the entire point of these streams, right? Like, well, I say that and then, talk about retro video games for an hour and a half, but, the intended purpose of the dev streams is to do development, right? And part of that is, chatting about the development too. All right. So this is the code compiling, finally. I was able to focus for 5 minutes and finish it. So now let's fire it up and watch it crash. Yep, there it is. All right, let's see what happened. We are right. We are null here because this is happening too early. Right. Okay. So this is happening before we actually build the submap object. I really need to just I think I'm gonna have to just like fundamentally rewrite how submaps are loaded. Because the loading code is very, very fragmented. It's kind of all over the place. There's like multiple different loaders for various things that are all calling each other, and I've cleaned up a lot of that already. But basically, the idea is to bring everything into like a unified package. So you can see here, I've got this class called Retail Submap. So this is going to kind of encapsulate all of the not so great like retail logic that goes into um, like kind of hybrid loading the retail submaps, half from disk, half from hard-coded stuff in memory. But then we will also have a mod submap extension of the submap class. And that'll just use like a very nice, easy to use package system so that it's really, really easy for mods to add new maps. And yeah, I would say we're probably already about like three-quarters of the way there. Because I do already have a lot of the code moved over and encapsulated here. Um, I think it's just going to be a matter of reworking this loading code a bit more to kind of bend it to our will. That I think will be something to do off stream though, because it's certainly a lot less interesting. We've been going for about 2 hours now, so I think we will probably end it there. Um, does anybody have any questions? Any more questions before we go? I know we kind of talked about a lot of stuff here today. Um, maybe might have some questions about the modding API and stuff like that. We've got a lot of very interesting mod features on the horizon for sure. Record your off-stream development and upload it at double time. Yeah, maybe. It would be some very, very long videos because I put quite a bit of work into this. Just if you could DM me post-stream to talk about January Devstream dates. Sounds good, I can do that. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in and chatting and stuff. Um, Anyone who isn't already subscribed and enjoys this content, please do subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. Like the video, leave us a comment. If you are interested in supporting me and my projects like Severed Chains, I have a Ko-fi account that Drew has just linked in the chat. You can donate there via PayPal or Stripe or subscribe to become a monthly member. You get some perks like behind the scenes, screenshots, videos. We have a secret Discord channel as well where you'll get to see like us discussing the things that we aren't ready to bring to the public yet. So we had, for example, like a lot of chat about the upscale project before we went public with that. Big thanks to my current monthly subscribers, The Packle, J-Man001, Deningrad, Sparta, Shepherd, Zach, Sonlin, Doom Metal, Platinum Sarge, Milk Lizard, Chocolate, Anonymous, Vince Easter, Balder, Ambi, and Forrester. Thanks to everyone who tuned in, and we will see you next time, next Wednesday, 7 o'clock Atlantic. That's GMT -4.